So hey guys, welcome back to my channel Mostly Programming. My name is Vivek Garg and this is lesson 19 of learning Python scripting from scratch. In today's video we are going to discuss about tuples in Python. The scope for today's lesson is we are going to see what is a tuple, accessing elements of a tuple, the concept of negative indexing, the concept of slicing, changing the tuple values. We will see if it is possible or not, iterating through a tuple, how to find the tuple length, and joining two or more tuples. This is the scope for today's lesson. So let's get started with today's video. But before that, if you have not subscribed to my channel yet, please do that right now because it's free. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss an update from Mostly Programming. And do not forget to follow us on Instagram, which is @Mostly Programming. We come up with new quizzes and practice sessions on a daily basis. So let's get started. So what is a tuple basically? A tuple is a collection which is ordered and unchangeable. In Python, tuples are written with round brackets. In the video lesson number 16, 17 and 18, we have discussed a lot about list, which is also a collection, which is also ordered, but lists are mutable while tuples are not mutable. And by mutable we means changeable. Now we have already covered the previous 18 lessons in the Python scripting course, and I expect that you know at least how we create list. We use square brackets to create a list, but while creating tuples, we instead of using square brackets, we use round brackets, that is parentheses. So let's see how we can create a tuple. For example, the variable name is this tuple, which is equal to, in the parentheses, in the round brackets, apple, banana and cherry. It is very similar to list. It is a collection. It is ordered. By ordered I means there are index numbers. Apple here is at 0, banana at 1 and cherry at 2. But the only difference between tuple and a list is list are mutable, changeable, but tuple is not mutable. Then simply I just print this tuple and apple, banana, cherry is printed. The only difference is in list here are square brackets used, whereas in tuple round brackets are used. Also they are immutable, unchangeable. We are going to discover how they are unchangeable later in the video itself. Accessing tuple items. The accessing of the tuple items is similar to accessing the list items. We simply have to pass the index number inside square brackets. This tuple in the square brackets, if I am writing 1, banana would be printed. So accessing individual items is similar to accessing the elements of a list. We use the square brackets and index number. Negative indexing. Now we know that the first element of a list or a tuple is at 0th element, right? At the 0th index number. And +1, +1, +1 onwards. But in case of negative indexing means beginning from the end, and -1 refers to the last item, -2 refers to the second last item. For example, we have this tuple, which is the name of the tuple, which has 3 elements, apple, banana, cherry. If we want to use the positive indices, apple is at 0, banana at 1, cherry at 2. But if we want to use the negative index, then cherry is at -1, banana at -2 and apple at -3. Then if I'm going to print the element present at -1 index, cherry would be printed because we have used the concept of negative indexing. We have already discussed the concept of negative indexing in the previous video. I'll link it somewhere here. You can see that. So the next is slicing. Slicing is basically to take a part of the list or the tuple out of the complete list. Right, so we can use the positive indexing or the negative indexing to get a slice out of the complete tuple. For example, here I have THS, this is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 elements in the tuple. If I'm going to print THS and in the square bracket 0, That means the slice would start from the 0th element to colon, and I have not mentioned the final limit. That means the whole tuple would be printed, but the step size is 2. That means after each element 1 would be skipped. That means every second element would be printed. So when I run this, the first element, that means the 0th index, the second index and the 4th index would be printed. 1, 3, 5 elements are printed. That means the 0th index 1 is skipped, the second index 3 is skipped, and the 4th index 1, 3, 5 are printed. Now let's see the concept of negative indexing with slicing. Basically, in this particular example, I have, okay, there is an error. Let me just rectify the error first. Here we have to use the square brackets. Whenever we need to individually access the elements of a list or a tuple or a string, we have to use the square brackets. Remember this point always. So we have already seen the positive indexing. Now we were discussing the negative indexing. Print inside the parenthesis, I have written the name of the tuple, this, and inside the square brackets I have written the lower limit to the upper limit. Now we know that we start from the lower limit element. That means if -1 is this, -2, -3, -4, from 2 onwards, the -1, -4, -3, -2, -1. We know that we start from the lower limit, the slice start from the lower limit to the upper limit -1. So in this case as well, 2 would be printed, 3 would be printed, and 4 would be printed. The upper limit -1 element, till the upper limit -1 element, all the elements from the tuple are printed. Now changing the tuple values. We cannot directly do this as tuples are immutable, but there is a loophole. We can indirectly change the values of the tuple using typecasting. For example, I have a tuple TUP which have 5 elements, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I simply take a variable x, then type convert the tuple to a list using the list keyword here. Then now I have typecasted the TUP to a list and stored it in a variable x. Then if I want to change the index number 3, the element at index number 3 of the list, I simply assign the value which I want to change it to. Then what I have done is I have made the modification in the list. Then I have converted the list into a tuple again using the tuple construct, and then given it to the TUP variable and then simply printed the tuple. Then we have the modified tuple. We can't directly modify the tuples, but we can change a tuple to a list, and then we can modify the list and then change the list again to tuple and print that tuple or use wherever you want to use it. So there is an indirect way of changing the tuple values using typecasting, but there is no direct method to change the tuple values as there is in strings. So take a tuple, typecast it to list, make the modifications required, and then change the tuple list back to a tuple and simply use the tuple. Iterating through a tuple. This is very easy. Simply take a tuple, use a for loop for I in tuple, colon, print I, then all the elements of the tuple would be printed. It's very simple. Using for loops in Python is really very simple. You can see that. Now what if we need to check if a particular value is present in a tuple? Simply we can do it if 7 in tuple, then print yes. Here I have used a if statement. You can do that with even without a if statement. Let me show you on PyCharm. For example, let me take a tuple TUP is equal to, in the parentheses I'll write 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's it. And I'm going to check here print 7 in TUP. Now the in operator would check if 7 is present in the tuple tup, and if it is there it would return true, and if it is not there it would return false, and in this case we can see that false would be returned. Let me just run it and see. So as you can see, 7 is not present in the tuple, so false is printed on the screen. What if I change it to 3 in tuple? Yeah. So I have changed it to 3 now. Let's rerun it and we can see that 3 is present in the tuple, so true is printed. So that's how, by using the in operator, we can check if a particular element is present in the tuple or not. We can also use the not in operator to check if a particular element is not present in the tuple. So that was about iterating and the in operator. Let's see how to find tuple length. It is very simple. Simply use the len keyword. For example, we have a THS tuple which has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as the elements, and there is another tuple THE 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Then to find the length of any tuple, we just simply use the len keyword, length keyword, and inside that we pass the name of the tuple for which we want to find the length of, and then we can see 5 would be printed because the length of THS is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. Then to simply join two tuples, we can simply use a plus sign, plus operator, that is print THS plus THE would basically join both the tuples. Here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6 is printed because tuples are ordered. That's why 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus the first index, the second index, third index, fourth index, fifth index, so onwards are printed in the same order. If we would have done THE plus THS, then 10, 9, 8, 7, 6 would have been printed first, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at the end of the THE tuple. So I hope the concepts of tuples are now clear to you. Tuples are also very useful in Python. The major difference between a tuple and a list is that tuples are immutable, but there is an indirect way of changing the values inside a tuple, which is by typecasting it. I hope you liked the video. If you have any queries, feel free to ask me in the comment section below, or you can even DM me on my social media accounts. The link to those are available here on the screen and will also be in the description box below. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Also share with your friends and subscribe to my channel because your subscriptions give me motivation to make more such videos. Thank you very much for watching.